Today's project, we're going to be putting a thumb on the new mini excavator. The thumb just arrived today, so hopefully it goes on without, too much trouble. We're going to weld it on today, and then I'm going to have to take some of the fittings to a local hydraulics place to get the hoses made. The thumb does not come with hoses because it's not a factory thumb. It's not from Sunward or CFG. This is from USA Attachments. It's American made. I think it's out of North Carolina, and hopefully it's a good thumb. So let's get this box opened up. We'll start taking our measurements. I believe I ordered the right size. If it's wrong, it's only gonna be wrong by like 2 inches. So we'll just make do. But I think it's right. Anyhow, let's get the box open. See what we got. Well, looks pretty nice. Pretty beefy. I usually like to have a hook at the end. I'm not crazy about this straight line design, but other than that, looks pretty nice. The finish isn't the greatest, but I'm gonna paint it anyway, so not too worried about the finish. Oh man, that thing is heavy. I'll tell you what. But I am glad to see that the weld-on plate, that might be 1/2 inch. It's 3/8 at the very least. And these tines are 1/2 inch AR 400, which is, everybody equates AR with armor plating, which is fair. It's used for armor plating, but AR actually stands for abrasion resistant. It's tougher than nails, so it's good stuff to have. I do see there's grease zerks on the pins for the hydraulic cylinder. That's excellent. First thing I gotta do is clean the paint off the welding area. So this flat edge here, gonna have to flat disc that down, I think, get the paint off of it. I will probably yank this hydraulic cylinder first, just to get some weight off of there. The hydraulic cylinder is probably 30 pounds by itself. Well, that's an awfully loose pocket for that snap ring. But the truth is, it doesn't really matter. Snap ring is not really taking the wear, it's just keeping the pin from sliding out. That's a much bigger cylinder than I thought it would be. Oh, it's easily a 3-inch cylinder, yeah. So that's a very strong cylinder. They only recommend 2,500 PSI. In fact, they're very clear that you have to dial it down to 2,500. But this cylinder says 3,000 right on the side of it. And I'm probably going to go with the manufacturer. Oh, look at that. All the information's there. 12-inch stroke, 3-inch bore, 1.5-inch rod diameter, 3,000 PSI rating, which is good because the auxiliary system on this unit operates at, I think, 2,700 if I remember right. And what I'm going to need to do is bring this into the hydraulic place tomorrow when I go get those hoses made so they can see what size fittings these are. Now these lines right here, this is for the hydraulic quick disconnect, which this unit does not have. I figured out yesterday. I think before I do anything, I'm going to get the flap disc and just start cleaning the paint off the welding surfaces for this thing. Look at that. All right, sorry guys, I forgot to set you back up before I tacked this on. So I just threw 4 small tacks on here. I got this kind of wedged in place where I think it goes. Yeah, we'll see. I may have to order new tines. I don't know for sure. It is what it is. In the meantime, I'm going to get this thing stitched in place. So I'm going to drop the dipper stick down and try to get it cocked at an angle that's a little easier to weld on, so I'm not trying to weld upside down. And after that, we'll throw the cylinder back in and we'll measure for hydraulic lines. This is just going to be a much easier position to weld in. And it's always easier to weld facing down than facing up. So that's what we're going to do here. That was ugly as hell because I was trying to make room for you guys. That was a mistake. Anyway. It'll be fine. Alright, let's get this arm moved so I can do the bottom. No matter how ugly it is. It's going to be strong. That much I can tell you. I tell you, there's one hot welder. That fan doesn't go off very often. It's cooking right now. We're running some pretty good amperage there. And this is a high duty cycle machine. It's an old school transformer welder. I mean, I just bought it brand new like 2 years ago, but nowadays they're all inverters. And this is just an old school transformer. They never break. And they make a ton of power. But they also make a ton of heat. I'm not a pro welder, but these will work. You know, it's not tricky, but you got to pay attention when you're welding 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch. You got to really just put your heat on the 1/2 inch first and just work it down to the 1/4. But these turned out okay. It's good penetration, good strength. Not too hot. I wasn't undercutting everything, so that's a good sign. But yeah, these look okay. They're serviceable, let me put it that way. The thumb is now welded on. What I need to do now is throw the cylinder on so I can get the measurements from the cylinder ports to the boom ports. That way I can have the hoses made tomorrow. Alright, let's get on that. We've got the cylinder installed. I don't know where the camera stopped recording, so I'm just going to go over like the last 5 minutes or so. The big measurement was how far off the stick, or how far off the digger arm does this come. And we are 13 3/4, 13.5 strong. That metal face right here is designed to deadhead against this to prevent the thumb from opening too far. It's a nice safety feature, and that's what's keeping it from opening further. did a pretty substantial breakdown. Basically every component of this thumb has been disassembled, and that's only because I want to do a really nice paint job. Once this thing goes on, I don't plan on ever taking it off, and I don't like having overspray from paint, especially on the boom and the dipper. So I wanted to just take it apart and paint it separately, because it's not going to be the same color. At any rate, it gives you a good opportunity to take a look and see, you know, how the thing is built. And this thing is beefy. It's very strong. The USA Attachments 8x30 hydraulic thumb that I bought is really solidly built, as best I can tell. We're talking about 1/2-inch plate for basically everything, 1/2-inch wall steel tube for your bushings, for your pin bushings here. This is 1/2-inch AR400. They've got a nice cutout steel USA logo on the side. And they painted right over the data plate. I don't think that's particularly important, but I mean, it takes 5 minutes to tape over it. Anyway, one thing I did notice, these pins are not machined nicely. You can tell pretty clearly that these were machined with a carbide burr. That's the kind of chatter marks you get with a carbide burr. Maybe it was some other form of rotary metal removal, but they are not turned, and that's pretty darn rough. Now, it doesn't really matter, it's a thumb. This is it is a wear component. It's going to be moving a lot, not quite as much as the pins on your boom and bucket, but this is going to get a lot of motion, and these will wear out. I don't know how long it'll take to wear out, and I don't even know how tight you need these to be perfectly honest. The thumb basically clamps until it's got a ton of force on it. They might not necessarily need to be super tight tolerances and well machined, but I thought it was worth pointing out. I will say that I used it already. It works like a champ, no complaints. I just found this to be a little, I don't even know if this is unusual. I've never owned a thumb before. This could be the way they're all made, but it was worth taking note of. Anyhow, this thing is prepped. It's ready for paint. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to remove the cylinder. Sorry, just got done painting the cylinder, as you just saw. So the cylinder was the same black as the thumb, and now it's a much closer kind of bluish gray to the rest of the body and the rest of the cylinders, and that's kind of what I want. go. Well, the orange is a little off, but not a ton. I mean, it's not super noticeable. You gotta really get up on it and give it a good look. It is blended in a little bit because I tried to paint some of the burn spots on the backside here from the welding. So that did blend it a hair. But you can see it's off just a little bit. But again, it's one of those things where you really have to look for it to see it. It's turned out really nice. And the gray on the thumb is definitely what I was looking for. Doesn't perfectly match the gray on the unit, but I wouldn't want to live off the difference. It's pretty decent. Doesn't match the bucket so well, but the truth is the bucket doesn't doesn't match the rest of the gray so well either. Yeah, pretty happy with this. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. There's not many videos out there with anything to do with this unit, the CFG industry, otherwise known as Agro TK Industrial, the CFG 40UF, otherwise known as the Sunward SWE35UF. Hopefully it turns out to be a good machine. It's going to get some work this week. I'm taking it up north. Going to put the bucket in the ground, going to work with some trees, maybe work with some rock. Probably not going to dig too much dirt, just because where I'm going, it's the bedrock's right below the surface, so probably won't get much of that. But everything else will get a good test, and I'm looking forward to that. I will get some video of that too. I'll put that up later. But yep, that's it for today. Thanks for joining Galt's Garage. I'll see you next time.